Hello and welcome to the Apex Online Racing. I was about to say something else there. Welcome to Apex Online Racing for ILC Round 3 here at the fabulous circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. The circuit was opened in 1922 and was originally 15 kilometers or 9.32 miles long with 25 turns, and over the years it's gone through many redesigns and tweaks to become the iconic 7-kilometer track it is known as today, with 19 turns, 10 to the right and 9 to the left. Obviously full of many iconic corners, and you should expect to see action at some of them, like this one here, turn 1, which is La Source, right through the Camel straight to La Com, which is turn 7, 8 and 9, and as well that the bus stop chicane right at the end. So before we get into qualification and the racing, here is how the standings look at the moment. Team AOR are leading 283 points to 174 scored by F1R, and if you would like to see how the drivers have contributed to their teams, here is the drivers standings. Now you'll notice that Mad Lithuanian, F1R Galley SR and F1R Shadow have contributed no points. That is due to the fact they have not had the chance to race for their teams as of yet. However, tonight Galley SR and Shadow will be racing and representing F1R tonight, so they will have the chance to put some points on the board for their team. Currently the top scorer is H Racing Green 91 for AOR, who has scored 80 points for the team, and F1R's highest scorer is Goldenmore with 50 points. So yes, like I said, we are here at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. We're not far out from qualifying. As we are on with helipower from F1R, who has stopped at the bus stop chicane. So let's jump on with H Racing Green, who is the person that just passed by helipower. And we will take you through a lap of this circuit. We'll actually go on board with them as we have gone through turn 1, and we're coming down Orluge and back up Rarion there. And we're now coming along the Camel Straights. And down into Le Com. And coming down a short sprint to Bruxelles. And through Speaker's Corner, commonly known as No Name, as we come to Pouon, also known as a Double Gauche. So we then come through Fagnes, and run down to Campus and then Stavolo. as we come now through Kerpel Fair and on to the run to Blanchimont. And the hard braking zone into the bus stop chicane. As we see green running wide there. The cars we are racing in for this round, as you can see, are LMP cars. There are 3 cars on offer. Each team must run at least one of each. Your options are the Porsche 919, the Toyota TS050, and the Audi R18, better known as the Long Boy. So we should see plenty of overtaking at this high-speed track. There has been an update to the engine of GT Sport, which means slipstream is going to be all the more important, how you place your car for the slipstream along the Kemmel Straight. Now under real slipstream settings, the slipstream is weaker the further back you are. You still need to be within that second to get slipstream, but as you get closer, the slipstream effect will be more powerful. So a faster car will be able to outrun a less powerful car in the early stages of that slipstream. Your AOR racers for this week are Ash Racer, Bankai Bullet, Jut and Go, Lead the Reaper, H Racing Green, JT Racing and Bloody Nine. Your F1R racers for this evening are Galley SR, Golden Moor, Mons, Herkurwa, Shadow, Smoker Boss and Heli Power 76. Hello Wobbuffet, nice to see you in the chat there, my friend. Hope you're looking forward to some good racing here this week. And hopefully the sound issues we had last time out are not having an effect this time. As we are on with Jungo as he comes down towards Banyas and Campus, and back out towards Stavolo. And we are just waiting for everyone to be on track. We have 3 minutes until qualifying, so take the time to get yourself settled in, get yourself a drink, some snacks, definitely have the popcorn out. Always some interesting racing around here. As always, we have 2 races here tonight, the feature race and the sprint race. The feature race will be 20 laps long and the sprint race will have a duration of 10 laps. Unlike AOR GT Sport League, which we would normally do on a Thursday night here at AOR, the sprint race is not a reverse grid. However, that shouldn't take away from any of the racing. Everyone here is at the top of their game. As we see people starting to come past Sector 1 split and get ready for quali to start. One minute until quali. Let's see, there appears to be no one left in the pits. Everyone is out past Sector 1. So we will be starting with quali shortly. Because that is everyone passed out the pits and past the first sector. And here we go. The hard tyre is the available tyre for the feature race. The sprint race, everyone will have the medium tyre. As we will start seeing everyone piling up at the end of Le Combe. Apparently we have someone having an issue, just gonna wait for them to come back to the room. Everyone should see 16 in the room, the 14 participants and the 2 commentators. So we're just waiting on Lee to rejoin and make their way past Sector 1, as everyone is doing donuts, wearing out some tyres. Just waiting on, still just waiting on Lee, there we go. There we go. That is the qualifier started. There we go, we have 10 minutes of quali. The energy recovery and usage in these cars are automatic. There's no manual deployment or setting how much deployment versus harvesting you have. The game deals with all of that automatically. Ash trying to get out early and get away. Himself and her Kerwa got a nice big gap behind, well, behind two of them. Which means her Kerwa will not be giving slipstream to anyone unless he decides to back up and make a gap for himself between now and the bus stop. As we're on with Ash Racer during his outlap here. As we come up on the run to Blanchemont. And into the bus stop chicane to start flying lap. You will see on the side of these cars 3 lights. You can see one there on Ash Racer. If there is just one there, it means they are in first position. 2 means second, 3 means third, and if there are no lights active, that means they are fourth or lower. Ash makes a nice run up through Eau Rouge and Radion. And into Lecombe, these cars have have a lot of aero tricks up their sleeve due to the fact that these are endurance cars used to racing night and day. And as night and day goes on, the atmospheric pressure changes, meaning that there's less tweaks needed to be made to the aero. The only things that need to be changed are the rear wing as a LMP race goes on. Most of these cars are also 4-wheel drive with the exception of the R18, which is a front-wheel drive LMP car, which does make them susceptible to understeering through the corner, but it does have better deployment of its battery on the exits of corners. As we see, her car has backed up a fair amount to Ash Racer, either that or had an issue. As we see, Ash Racer's the first to come up to the bus stop chicane. And sets a 1:59.7. Next up is Herkurwa, who sets a 2:05. Helipower 1:59.7. Smoker Boss 2:04. Goldenmore 1:58 takes pole. F1R Galley Bloody 9 in the 2-minute ones. JT Racing 1:59.4. As we've seen a yellow flag there, someone is facing the wrong way. F1R Shadows 2:02. Jungle 2:08. H Racing Green goes pole with 1:58.5. Lee 2:14.3 has had an issue somewhere on that lap. Mons is 2:09. Who is still in the pits, yet to set a time. Bankai Bullet yet to set a time, now out of the pits, coming through Stavolo. As JT Racing is back in the pits. And Bankai Bullet coming across the line to start his outlap. As we have Ash Racer coming through Blanchimont right now, I believe. No, he's coming through Stavolo, who is about to come through the bus stop. Ahead of Goldmore as Galley gives his teammate there a wee push. Bloody 9 has improved his time to 2:09. That keeps him down in 11th place. As we watch Goldmore coming down and back up through Eau Rouge. Lee the Reaper gone 8th with a 2:03. As we see Bloody 9 going past Goldmore during qualifying here. Let's have a look where Bankai Bullet is. Bankai Bullet is coming up to Stavolo, ready to post the time, as we have 2 minutes and 40 seconds left of qualifying. Enough time for 2 more laps. As we watch Bankai Bullet coming up towards Blanchimont, through Blanchimont up to the chicane. It's a nice line through chicane. Across the line to go 4th with a 1:59.6. Need to see who's next across, who's coming up next to come across the line here. I feel like it could be Herkurwa. No. If they improve, we will see who it is. It was Smoker Boss going 2:03. We've got a few people coming through the bus stop now. Jungle goes better with a 2:06. Ash Racer 1:59.7. As we see Lee and Helipower getting a bit stuck together, coming to the start finish straight. Mons goes 2:05. Lee and Helipower having a bit of a push and shove with each other. Helipower backing out and sticking in behind Lee. Let's see if these two can behave into Lacombe. Nicely done through Lacombe. As we come down to Double Gauche, or Puon as it's better known. Bankai Bullet going third with a 159.4. As we come through Fanius and Campus and down to Stavolo. Smoker Boss going setting a better time, 2 minutes point 2. Goldemore improving his time, 158.6, but not enough to take pole away from H Racing Green. Jut and Go goes 2 minutes point 2 to further improve his time and move him up a position. Lee the Reaper 159.5 puts himself in 5th. F1R Galley goes 6th with a 159.6 as we're just waiting for the last few to cross the line. We've got two coming up to the bus stop and one who's just came out of Puon. And JT Racing in 4th in the pit lane. Everyone has 50 seconds to complete any laps that they are on. Which would be that one person who is down at Puon, whoever it may be. Bankai Bullets. Into the bus stop. And across the line. Does not go better. With JT in the pits, we're going to have to wait out the next 10 seconds. But that does mean that your grid order is H Racing Green in first, followed by Goldemore on the second row, Bankai Bullet and JT Racing on the third row, second row even, Lee and Galley on the third row. That's disappeared off my screen. Ash Racer and Helipower on the fourth row, Herkurwa Smoker Boss line up together, Shadow and Jut and Go, and the back row is Mons and Bloody Nine. And that's lights are out and we are away for round 3 of the ILC. Everyone's spreading out, we're about 5 wide somewhere down there. H Racing Green does hold the lead and Bankai Bullet gets past Goldemore into La Source. Although we do have a red flag. I wonder what that's for. It appears we're going to need to set up a new room. Maybe, we'll see. It appeared to be Lee and Helipower who couldn't see each other. And we will be getting a new room to race in. Apologies for this interruption. There we are. It does, it's still nice to apologise for it when it does happen there, Wobbuffet. As we wait for everyone to get back on track and up to Sector 1. So now the hosts will need to set the grid order manually. So that we do not need to do quali once again. As we see everyone lining up on the escape road at Lacombe. Normally you would see people doing donuts on the apron at Lacombe here, or down at the runoff at Blanchimont, or at La Source. It's where you normally see people just giving it some donuts. As we see Helipower going to some donuts there. As we see everyone just at various places on track. The runoff at Puon's a good place to do some donuts. Whether or not Jungle will be doing some donuts is up to himself. You can see Helipower giving it some donuts there. So it looks like the grid is set, so we've now got Ash Racer coming up to the sector time split. As we go for the restart. Grid positions look good. As we get ready to start the race. And we're off for take 2 of ILC round 3, as we've had a spin straight off the start, and it is Lee the Reaper has dropped from 5th to 14th straight off the start, and Bankai Bullet once again gets past Goldemore into turn 1. We'll be looking to keep everyone behind them, give H Racing Green the chance to take off. As we come down the Camel straight into Lacombe, and Bankai overcooks it into Lacombe. Giving him a 1 second penalty. And once again overcooks it into Brissell, losing the position to Goldemore, and probably also Helipower by the looks of it. Now Bankai Bullet has a 6/10 of a second penalty to scrub off, while he has a lot of defending to do behind him, as Ash Racer goes around the inside of Puon and gets ahead. Bankai Bullet now with Smoker Boss all over the back of him, as he still has some of that penalty to serve. As we see Smoker Boss still all over the back of Bankai, coming up to the bus stop. Bankai has that penalty fully served, staying ahead of Smoker Boss. H Racing Green still holds 4th, Goldemore in 2nd, followed by Helipower and Ash Racer. Smoker Boss try to go up the inside of Bankai Bullet there. Into turn 1. And Bankai holds it. Smoker Boss seems to run a wee bit wider than Bankai at Orduge and Radion. See if we've got any battles going on a wee bit further back. We've got Mons there chasing down Juttengo in the slipstream along the Kemmel Straight. Followed by F1R Shadow and Galley SR. It appears that Smoker Boss has had an issue of some kind, dropping down to 11th, having just been all over the back of Bankai Bullet. We have a wee look up the field. Bankai Bullet there, followed by JT Racing, Juttengo and Mons. Bankai Bullet taking a wee bit too much curb there, nearly sliding the car out. Held it well. Have a look further back. Smoker Boss there, being chased down by Bloody Nine. Bloody Nine trying to close that gap down. Bloody Nine being followed by Lee the Reaper, who qualified well into 5th position, I believe, if memory serves. Went all the way down to 14th off the line. Let's have a look at see where the train kind of starts. Ash Racer got a bit of a gap to Helipower behind. H Racing Green and Goldenmore have run off at the start of this race. However, they will need to pit eventually. Let's see. We'll see if their pace means they've got a big enough gap at the pits. As Helipower behind and Bankai Bullet behind of Ash Racer. Now Bankai, let's see how close JT is. JT is closing in on his teammate there. Will there be any team orders here, or will Bankai keep going? Bankai now pulling out a wee bit from his teammate. And Juttengo close behind them. As we come through towards Blanchimont. And the short run down to the chicane. You can see JT looking for a way by, tries to go around the outside, makes it stick. Bankai Bullet now behind JT, now ahead of JT Racing. Bankai now behind JT Racing. As Bankai tucks into the slipstream, follows them through La Source and down to Orduge and Radion. Come down past the support race pit lane and back up the hill. Bankai looking a bit twitchy coming up there along the Kemmel Straight. This is where Bankai will be able to get past JT Racing in the slipstream, or I would have thought so, having to come down and through Lacombe. As we see JT Racing coming through Bushell, trying to close that 2-second gap to Helipower ahead. Everyone behind JT Racing's a lot closer than everybody out front. The top four are quite spread out from each other, although it does look like Goldenmore has been closing that gap down on H Racing Green. As we see that Mons is trying to close that gap down on Juttengo in 7th. You see that line of F1R cars behind Mons, all looking to have the chance to battle with the AOR guys. As we come back through to Blanchimont and to the bus stop chicane, and Juttengo takes that nicely back on the power. As we start lap 5 of 20. Fastest lap currently 2 minutes 0.4, held by H Racing Green out in front, who again looks like he's made a gap to Goldenmore. The top four spread out by quite a bit, continuing up in the corners and spreading out again on the straights, as we see Juttengo trying to close in on Bankai Bullet and extend his gap to Mons behind. Have a look further down the pack. See Smoker Boss here trying to keep Bloody Nine and leave the Reaper behind, and keep in touch with his teammate F1R Galley SR. Let's have a look at Lee trying to make it past his teammate Bloody Nine. Are these guys free to battle, or is team orders in play? And we see Lee swinging round, trying to take a wider line through Buon. Try to get in past through Vanius and Campus. We come down to Stavolo. Lee keeping in that slipstream. As we come on the run to Blanchimont. And a short sprint down to the bus stop chicane as we get ready to start lap 6 of 20. As we see Lee the Reaper is coming into the pits, and that allows Herr Kerwa to pass. As we jump into somewhere in the train, we see that JT Racing has made a gap to his teammate Bankai Bullet, and Juttengo is closing down on Bankai. JT Racing looking to make a move on Heli Power up a wee bit ahead there. Let's see if JT Racing can get the job done. Taking a wider line out of Lacombe. And down through Burchell into Speaker's Corner, commonly known as No Name, and down to Puon. Helipower keeping that gap at round about 6/10. As we come through Fanius Campus and into Stavolo. And Stavolo 2. On the run to Blanchimont, can JT Racing close this gap? And following down into the chicane. Heli Power opens the gap up from 6/10 to 1.4 seconds. As we are now on lap 7 of 20. H Racing Green still in the lead, followed by Goldenmore and Ash Racer to fill out the podium positions. All three yet to pit. Obviously JT Racing closing that gap down on Heli Power in the slipstream along the Camel Straight. Gap now down to 0.3 of a second, closing at 1.5 tenths. As we come through Michelle, JT trying to go the long way around the outsides and down into No Name. Back on the power through Puon. That gap hovering around 0.3 of a second right now, coming back down. As we come into Vanius and Campus. JT Racing the outside for the first part, the inside for the second part. Next place. As we now come through Stavolo. Can he keep the place through Stavolo? Yes, he can. Heli Power all over the back of him. As we come up to Blanchimont. Getting a bit wide there on the entry. But keeps possession, but does get a 0.5 of a second penalty as he comes into the bus stop chicane. And serving that penalty has allowed Heli Power to get back in front. And Bankai Bullet is also back in the mix, being about 0.5 of a second behind JT, and Jutton goes right there as well. JT Racing taking the outside line after the source and has the lead back as we come through Orders and Radion along the Camel Straight. This is where the slipstream could give Heli Power the position back and also bring Bankai Bullet into the mix. Heli Power opts to stay behind JT Racing, but cuts a final line into Lacombe as we come down to Brichelle. Heli Power now both having to look for places to attack JT Racing and defend from Bankai Bullet. Heli Power in the AOR sandwich right now. As we see JT Racing now build up a little bit of a lead up to 0.8 of a second. And Bankai Bullet closing in. Heli Power now looking more at defence than attack. As JT Racing now 1.3 seconds ahead on the exit of Stavolo. Bankai Bullet now within 0.1 of a second. All over the back of Heli Power, filling up those wing mirrors, as small and pitiful as they are. But Heli Power instead decides he is going to pit here, as does Ash Racer and Goldenmore. And F1R Shadow has also popped into the pits. JT Racing now in third position after Goldenmore exits the pits in fourth, and Ash in second. So JT Racing about a second behind his teammate Ash there. And we have JT Racing now pulled out a 3.5 second gap to his teammate Bankai Bullet after Bankai was all over the back of Smoker Boss. No, Helipower. And this has given JT a chance to put in some decent laps before he can pit, so he's not vulnerable to that undercut from Helipower. As he comes through Stavolo, let's have a wee bit look further back. We've got Mons looking at Goldemore with Galley behind him. As we see Goldemore trying to catch up on Jungle with a gap of about 4/10 of a second. As we come into the bus stop, as we see F1R Galley jumping into the pits, we see blue flags coming out somewhere. As Goldemore maintains that gap of less than a second on Jungle on the run down to Orderge and Arion. As we come along the Camel Straights, Goldemore tucking into the slipstream of Jungle, closing that gap down. Pulling out the slipstream to get that drag to break. And slow the car down for Lacombe. Goldemore now all over the back of Jungle. As we come into No Name. And the run down to Puon. Goldemore still looking for a way past, cuts to the inside, tries to go the long way round, switches back to the inside for Fanius and Campus. Jungle got the inside for Campus. Close to wheel racing from these guys. But Goldemore manages to hold it at Stavolo. Goldemore now wanting to chase down Bankai Bullet as H Racing Green comes into the pits. With the closest person being Ash, just about to come through the bus stop chicane. As Goldemore chases down Bankai Bullet into the bus stop, and Bankai Bullet also pits, as does JT Racing. Goldemore now second place, while H Racing Green in the pits. H Racing Green comes out ahead of Goldemore, but behind Ash. Means Ash is now first place, H Racing Green in second, and Goldemore in third. H Racing Green holding a gap of about 1.8 seconds right now, as he is closing in on Ash down the Camel Straight. We'll have to pick that one back up soon, as we have a look at Goldemore and Jungle closing that gap back up to 0.8 of a second on Goldemore. As we come through Bichelle and through No Name, Jungle going a bit tight. Her Kurwa has dropped out. As Jungle now 1.4 seconds from Goldemore. Let's have a check in on the midfield here. JT Racing has F1R Galley SR all over the back of him. As we come through Stavolo, as we're now on board with JT Racing, coming down to the bus stop, keeping an eye out for Galley behind. That gap down at 7/10. It's a better exit than Galley. Blue flags out once again, coming across the start finish line. Just a heads up that there's someone in the pits, it would appear. As we watch JT's line coming up through Orange and Radion, getting a bit squirrely. As we see Galley coming up on JT, can he make the pass into Lacombe? Cannot. Jungle comes out the pits in 9th position. We see Galley keeping close to JT here. As we come through Puon. And down towards Banyuson campus. JT keeping that gap while he can. Galley doing his best to fill up the mirrors of JT and remind him that he's still there. As we see Bloody Nine running in 5th position behind Bankai Bullet. Ash Racer still first, followed by H Racing Green, then Golden Moor and Bankai Bullet. Then we've got Bloody Nine, JT Racing, F1R Galley, Lee the Reaper, Juttengo, Heli Power, Mons, F1R Shadow and Smoker Boss all the way down in 13th. As we see the blue flags are out for someone, I'm not quite sure who, as there didn't appear to be anyone in the pits. As we see F1R Shadow getting a wee bit greedy on the throttle coming out of La Source and nearly losing the car. As we see Ash Racer and H Racing Green in first. That gap still over a second. But that gap slowly closing. The two AOR racers here in P1 and 2, followed by F1R representative Golden Moor in third. As they keep that gap around 1.7 seconds, give or take a tenth. As we see Galley still behind JT Racing as we come to Fanius Campus and down into Stavolo. Bloody Nine still holding that lead over JT at over a second. And Galley bringing that gap down to under half a second as we come up to the chicane. And Bloody Nine in the Porsche pits. We also have Lee the Reaper pitting as Galley goes for the move. It can't make it stick. As we see Galley coming up close as we come through Orange and Radion. Will Galley make the move? Tucked into the slipstream. Pulls out alongside. It doesn't quite have the speed to make the move. as we come in through Lacombe and take the run down to Bruchelle. And down towards No Name. On the run down to Puon. As we are on lap 14 of 20. Ash Racer holding the fastest lap of a 1:59.9. No bonus points for the fastest lap in this competition. As we see Ash Racer pitting once again, giving H Racing Green the lead back. As we're still on with F1R Galley as he tries to chase down JT Racing, who has Bankai Bullet just up ahead. Galley getting a steadier line out of the bus stop, tucks back into the slipstream, coming up to La Source, stays on the inside. Has got the pass done on the run down to Orders and Radion. But will JT Racing in the slipstream be able to get ahead? Looks like JT Racing's going to try and make a move around the outside of Lacombe. And makes it stick. As we come through the rest of Lacombe. And into Bruchelle. Still has Galley all over the back of him. As we come through Puon. The fight between these two still continuing on. Goldemore has gotten past Ash in the pits. And down here in 11th we have Smoker Boss with Bloody Nine closing in. And Lee the Reaper behind. And just ahead of Smoker Boss we have F1R Shadow. Bloody Nine all over the back of Smoker Boss here. Smoker Boss gets the better exit from the chicane. But Bloody Nine quicker in the through the corners. As we are on lap 16 of 20. And we have Smoker Boss getting closed down on by Bloody Nine. As Bloody Nine tries to close down on Smoker Boss. We have Lee the Reaper a fair bit behind as well. Let's check in on JT and Galley. As Galley runs very wide on the exit of campus. as we check in up here. 2 seconds between Goldenmore and Ash Racer. Ash Racer pitted more recently than Goldenmore. Let's see what Ash can do with the fresh tyres. With 3 laps to go. Both of these guys in the Audis, I believe. There's Ash in a Porsche. Ash is in a Porsche. Goldenmore in the Audi. H Racing Green just extending that lead. 13 seconds ahead. As we see Goldenmore and Ash going for it, that gap coming down and down and down. As Ash chases him down to Fanius and Campus. And into Stavolo. On the exit, Stavolo there on the run down to the bus, Blanchimont and the bus stop chicane. And into the bus stop. And back onto the start finish straight as that gap hangs around about 1 second, just over 1 second. Ash picking up a lot of time through the corners here. Ash has got the gap down to less than 0.6 of a second. Jumping into that slipstream, closing that gap down. Breaking into Lacombe. Gap is about 0.3 of a second. Looking for a move into Bruchelle, thinking better of it. Staying close behind as they come to No Name. That gap still less than 0.2 of a second. As we come through Double Gauche. Keeping that gap down at 0.2 of a second. Coming into Fanius and Campus. And into Stavolo. And the exit Stavolo 2. That gap 0.2 of a second. As we are on the run up to Blanchimont and then the bus stop chicane. As we come through and cross the line for the penultimate lap. The gap currently 3.5 of a second as we come into La Source. And on the run down to the Kemmel straight through Eau Rouge and Radion. Ash staying planted right behind. That gap coming down into Lacombe. Here those tyres being punished through Lacombe as we come into Bruchelle. and through No Name. That gap is still dead close. As we come through Puon and into Fanius and Campus. Still, that gap is roughly about 0.2 of a second. Now we're on board with Ash, trying to get the pass done on Goldenmore. The gap is just about 1/10 of a second as we come into Blanchimont and up towards the bus stop. Ash braking slightly later than Goldenmore. Ash has decided to let Goldenmore back past after that one. As we now go on to the final lap. And Ash Racer 3/10 of a second behind. As we see Ash closing in on Goldenmore along the Kemmel Straight. Great show of racing etiquette, letting Goldenmore back past after kind of pushing him off track in the braking zone there. The gap less than 1/10 of a second. Ash goes wide. Ash slightly pushed wide there by Goldenmore, I think, from the looks of it. Ash struggling to get back into get his game face back on after that one a wee bit, going wide at No Name. Now we're coming through Puon with Bankai Bullet right up behind him, as H Racing Green is just coming through Blanchimont. For the final time in this feature race. As H Racing Green comes across the line 21 seconds ahead of anyone else to come first in the feature race. As we have Goldenmore coming down to the bus stop, followed by Ash Racer. Goldenmore second, Ash Racer in third, and Bankai and JT are having a little bit of a battle for fourth position. Bankai seems to have given it to JT, but has also let F1R Galley through. Juttengo comes in 7th. Heli Power 8th, Mons 9th, Bloody 9 and 10th. F1R Shadow 11th, as we have Smoker Boss and Lee fighting for position in the final corner, and Lee gets it done in the last corner to take 12th position, and Smoker Boss in 13th, and DNF for Herkurwa. Congratulations to all the racers there, as we take a short break until the sprint race in 5 minutes. Take the time to get yourself a drink, and I've just been informed that Bankai was out of fuel at the end of that race. That is how he let everyone pass. He was just cutting it very, very fine. However, that is racing. That does happen. So yes, a short 5-minute break. Use the time to get yourself a drink and pep yourself up for the sprint race. and we will be back shortly. And we are just about ready for the sprint race to take place. 10 laps with the grid order being the race order from the feature race. As we are just waiting for everyone to leave the pits and get to the first sector. many we have on track at the moment? We have 10, 11. So we're waiting for 2 more people to come back on track and make their way to the first sector splits. Oh, we've got Goldemore leave the room. And back. So let's see. Everyone make their way back. Herkerwa has rejoined in time for the sprint race. We'll be starting at the back. We currently have 12 on track, just waiting for 2 more. Goldmore. And 14 would have been Herkerwa, but has once again left the room. I'm just waiting on Goldmore leave the pits, Ash to set the grid order, and also see if Herkerwa returns. And we will then be ready to go. Herkerwa rejoined, so we should hopefully have the 14 in this race once again to start off, as Herkerwa got a DNF in the feature race. He will be starting from the back in the sprint. As we have Heli Power up front doing donuts. Just waiting on Herkerwa to rejoin track. Just on and Ash to set the. There we go. Herkerwa is on track. He's leaving the pits just now. There we go, he's on his way to the Sector 1 time split. In that meantime, Ash will set the grid order as people have left and rejoined the room. And we will be able to get the sprint race 10 laps on the medium tyres underway. The cars should be able to no stop on the fuel. Well, they'll definitely be able to no stop on fuel around here, I would imagine. And the tyres might just last to the end. We shall see. As we see F1R Shadow sitting there with a 6-second penalty, probably for cutting right across Lacombe. However, that will not carry over into the race, as we see that Ash is now out of the pits and making his way towards Orange and Radion, meaning that the grid is set, which means we will be getting underway momentarily. There we go. Around here, whether you take the no stop or the one stop, it could work out either way. If you no stop, you will have the gap to those who do stop, but if you can make a big enough gap that they can't catch up, then that would be a good thing for you. However, let's get on in. We have 5 red lights. And we are away for the sprint race here at Spa. A good start from everybody. No spin outs this time, as Goldemore is still in second. F1R Galley has managed to pick up a few places. Into turn 1, as we are in the middle of the pack, and H Racing Green has made himself a bit of a gap up front already, with Goldemore following on, as we are on with Bankai Bullets, who is being hounded by Mons and Shadow from F1R. Into Lacombe, Bankai holds that position, and Lee picks up a place from F1R Shadow, as he goes slightly wide at the exit of Lacombe. As we come through Brichelle, we see Ash Racer back into 3rd position, and JT Racing there fighting away with Galley, as everyone is coming through and down into Double Gauche, or better known as Puon, as Bankai Bullet down into 8th place, or is still in 8th place, although I think he started 6th in this race. But he's hounding down, filling up the mirrors of Helipower there, and has Lee the Reaper behind him, who has now passed Mons. As we see Bankai going a bit wide there, but managing to hold it on the track just about without spinning it out. An issue that Bankai had at the last track Kyoto was getting a wee bit too much on the curbs, upsetting the car just a little bit too much, as we see JT Racing in front of a Galley there. As we see Lee and Bankai nearly side by side on the exit of the bus stop. Lee in the slipstream of Bankai there, pulling to the inside, as the Helipower try to make a move on Jut and Go. Lee getting past Bankai there. Someone has kind of just gone straight on at La Source. I think it was possibly one of the F1R cars. I didn't quite catch it. As we're on with JT Racing, who has Galley behind them, 0.3 of a second. As we come into Lacombe, JT Racing holding that gap at roughly about 0.3 of a second, as he's about a second behind Ash Racer. As we come through Bruchelle and into No Name, and down to Puon. JT Racing, that gap is getting smaller, but not by enough to worry him, I would imagine. Galley filling up those wing mirrors that he's got. We see Jutton go back there with a penalty for something. JT Racing keeping that gap at round about 0.3 of a second. As he makes the run down to Blanchemont. Ash Racer pulling out a lead there. Oh, pulling out ahead. As Galley was side by side for a second with JT Racing, but stays behind. As we see Helipower taking off track there, and has lost positions to both Jutton Go and Lee the Reaper. Lee the Reaper passing his teammate Jutton Go there. Jutton Go now has the inside for the source. See if he can make the run down. Helipower also losing that position to Bankai Bullet. Helipower overtaken by 3 AOR cars in the space of one sector. As we see the 3 AOR cars there coming through, Luckcom, Lee the Reaper, Jutton Go and Bankai Bullet. Bankai Bullet making his keeping himself ahead of Helipower there. Helipower only 0.5 of a second away. Bankai Bullet making his way past Lee the Reaper. There's a nice pass between the two teammates. Bankai Bullet now closing in on his teammate Jutton Go there. Looking to make up for running out of fuel on the final lap at Blanchemont. Let's have a look at JT and F1R Galley. The gap is now sitting at around 1.5 seconds. As we come through Blanchemont and up to the bus stop chicane. Bankai Bullet behind Jutton Go, but ahead of Lee the Reaper and Helipower right behind them, followed by Mons and Herkurwa. Bloody Nine just behind Herkurwa there. As we see Lee the Reaper trying to go for a move on Bankai Bullet by going to the inside, which might give Helipower the chance to get ahead of Bankai, and it does. Will Helipower also get ahead of Lee with this move? Side by side through Orange and Radion. It's not something you see often. But Helipower is now still behind Lee the Reaper. Jutton Go still ahead of all of them. Bankai Bullet now behind Helipower and Lee the Reaper. Let's see if Bankai can get the position back off Helipower as we come down into No Name corner and down to Puon. As we are on lap 4 of 10. Bankai Bullet ahead of Helipower. Helipower slotting into the slipstream there. Bankai now with 3 F1R cars behind them, and then Bloody 9. Gap to Helipower is 0.4 of a second. H Racing Green first to pit at the end of lap 4. Bankai Bullet now coming into the pits as well. Lee the Reaper is pitted. Bloody 9. We have quite a few people pitting. This is giving Goldenmore the lead. We've got quite a few in the pits just now. Let's see where they all filter out. H Racing Green comes back out in 4th. Behind JT Racing and ahead of Ash. Behind Ash Racer and ahead of JT Racing. Who else has pitted and wherever they came out? Lee the Reapers come out in 10th. Bankai Bullet in 11th. Bloody 9 comes out of the pits in 13th. And Shadow pitted at the end of that lap as well, and he is in 14th. We should come to here. We've got Mons, who is in between his two F1R teammates. He's 0.8 of a second behind Helipower, and he was a couple of tenths behind Smoker Boss, but it seems that Smoker Boss had some sort of an issue through No Name and is now got Lee the Reaper and Bankai Bullet all over the back of him there. Let's see if Lee and Bankai can get past. As we see Lee filling up the wing mirrors of Smoker Boss, getting up close. You can see Lee the Reaper behind there, looking for a way through. As we come to Blanchimont, will he go for a move into the bus stop? It looks like he might. And Lee the Reaper gets past. Smoker Boss decides to go to the pits. As Helipower goes a bit wide coming out of La Source. And we have Lee the Reaper now in 8th position, followed closely by Bankai Bullet. Let's have a look at how H Racing Green is getting on, catching up on Goldenmore. The gap is currently 3.4 seconds with 3 and a bit laps to go. Goldenmore is just coming up to No Name as H Racing Green exits from Bruchelle. Goldenmore possibly going for the no stop here. Will be a bit late to pit now. H Racing Green with the fastest lap of a 1:58.799. As we come back to the battles in the middle of the field right now. We'll see where the battles are going on. We have Herker catching up on his teammate Mons with a gap of 0.6 of a second. And they are trying to close in on Bloody 9, who's 1.4 seconds ahead in 10th position. We've got Galley in 4th. Goldenmore has pitted from 1st place. He is in 2nd. Let's see where he comes out. As has JT Racing. Who pitted at the end of lap 6, start of lap 7. Let's see where these guys come out. Goldenmore leaves the pits in 2nd position. And JT Racing comes out the pits in 5th. And JT Racing exits the pits right into a battle with Galley SR. As we see them coming into Lacombe, Galley taking a tighter line in there. As we see GT Racing trying to cut that gap down from 0.5 of a second. But Galley is pulling out a slight gap in some places and losing it through others. That gap constantly fluctuating but holding round about 0.6 of a second. These guys so very, very close. And JT Racing just looking for a place to get past, try and get back into that slipstream. As we come out of Stavolo 2 and up to Blanchemont, where the gap is 0.8 of a second. Galley pulling out that gap just ever so slightly, just chipping away at the gap. As JT Racing brings the gap back down slightly. As we come through the bus stop chicane, it's all about who gets the better exit here. And it seems like F1R Galley is the one with the better exit. As we come into La Source, JT Racing getting a bit squirrely on exit there. Trying to get the traction as he plants the accelerator. As we see Ash going for a run on Goldenmore down the Camel Straight. The gap 0.6 of a second. As we come down to Bruchelle, this fight for the podium position on lap 8 out of 10. As we come on the run down to Puan. And through Puan to Banyas and Campus. And down through Stavolo, the gap climbing 1.1 seconds. Let's see if Ash can close that gap on the next run along the Camel Straight. See if we can find a way past as we come into the bus stop, with that gap growing ever so slightly. Goldenmore on the fresher tyres, did pit later. As we come out of La Source and down towards Eau Rouge and Radion. Up the hill and onto the Camel Straight. Gap is currently 1.3 seconds. That gap is climbing as we come into Lacombe on the penultimate lap. Right behind we have JT Racing and Galley fighting for 4th position. Let's see if JT Racing can finally find a way past Galley. As we come down to Puan. And through Banyas and Campus. And through Stavolo. Gap still sitting at round about 0.7 of a second. Let's see if JT can do anything on the final lap after we come through the bus stop chicane for the final time. We go through the bus stop, the gap now 0.4 of a second. Looks like Galley got the better exit there, gaining a couple of hundredths of a second. But JT closing that gap down in the braking zones. .4 of a second as we come through over the Rouge and Radion. And on to the Camel Straight, JT in that slipstream. Can he close the gap down enough? Galley going purple through sector 1. As we see these guys coming through, no name on the X of Rochelle. Galley opening that gap now to JT Racing. As we come through Puon and down into Fanius Campus. And down to Stavolo, JT very wide on the exit there. And losing more and more time. JT also has a penalty of 0.5 seconds. That will be for going too wide. As H Racing Green takes first position, followed by Goldenmore, then Ash Racer. Galley in 4th, JT Racing 5th, Juttengo in 6th, Lee the Reaper 7th, Bankai Bullet 8th position, Bloody 9 in 9th, Mons in 10th, Smoker Boss 11th, Herkurwa 12th, F1R Shadow 13th, and Heli Power we see here just coming through the chicane and finishing in 14th position. So your podium there is H Racing Green, Goldmore and Ash Racer. I hope you have enjoyed the racing here. Keep an eye out on Apex Online Racing forums to see about all the GT Sport content that we've got coming up. We currently have the Constructors Challenge, where we are at about to do rounds 7 and 8, if my memory serves. In the Constructors Challenge, and we have more stuff coming up after that. We have 3 more rounds of the ILC. We have another round of GT3s, we have a round of the GT4s, and we have Super Formula still to come. Join us again for them. They are 3 weeks apart, and in the 2 weeks that we aren't racing the ILC, we have the Constructors Challenge. Once again, I've been Jack. This has been Apex Online Racing. As always, there's always room for you here if you want to be our friend. And once again, I urge you all to stay safe out there.